address. So, cuz I'll let you start first, man. Um,
I think they need to be doing more of this. There should be more task force. I'm pretty sure they have more of the stuff that they can uncover, or the people that's doing it. I think this is a tip of the iceberg right here. So I'm glad that they are putting it in the news cycle, but it's a small thing to a bigger problem. The way I understand it and look at it, and it's a lot more people other than these random faces you see on here on the news thing that's actually behind it. So it's just kind of like, yeah, and when you watch the movies, you kind of see them, get the small drug dealers. It's like, nah, I don't want you. I want the big guy. I want your supplier. That's who I want. So whoever is putting these rings together, we need those people. We need that person. Those international things and ways that it's happening. Um, so I think that is something that we should start to see more, but it remains to be seen. We got to see more of this. And if this is put out in the news more and more and more, then we can start to have, more of these operations happen. I guess you'll get this and not get the tapes or the flight lists, to the island. We'll give you this,
right.
We're not gonna give you that.
Do you think that involving like technology has changed the way they have to actually create or develop these task force?
Um, I don't think it changes the way they have to develop the task force, but I will say that it adds another layer because of technology, meaning there's another skill that you have to learn. Just like shooting, just like stakeouts, just
Isn't
like,
that a layer, man? I'm just playing.
yeah, just like, well, it's a skill, I
Right.
don't think it's a layer. It's just like, okay, paperwork, or
Well,
meetings.
maybe I worded it wrong, but because again, he brought up a good point. He was talking about, we tell our kids like, don't talk to strangers, and the person we would have to worry about is the person you actually see. But because of technology, they're able to interact with them in a way that could be away from the parent. And you don't necessarily see that person physically, but it's through some type of digital form like Xbox Live or
Hmm.
PlayStation Network or
I
I
mean,
know I be seeing these kids on this app called Monkey or whatever. I think it's called
yeah,
Monkey.
yeah.
Yeah,
I
but
mean,
stuff like that.
yeah. I mean, I think you could consider it a layer, because it's something that you can't see. It's another form of thought a child has to, take into. So yeah, I guess we can say it's a layer. It's another conversation that you'll have to have. When we were growing up, it was, strangers don't talk to strangers. And then you had don't go to the van with the candy if they giving it away. Now it's like you get
Right.
online, yeah, you have different characters playing Fortnite and you don't know how old they are. So if
Right.
they're asking you to do certain things, you want to pay attention to that and say, hey, this has nothing to do with the game. So if we're having this conversation, then I need to move away from this player and not play with this player again. You know,
Right.
it should strictly be online. It shouldn't come offline and turn into anything else. So yeah, I guess we can consider that a layer for
Hey,
sure.
real quick, so you made me think of something. There was this one instance where this damn guy showed up to this lady's house because for her daughter. Her daughter was underage. I can't remember how old the daughter was, but they were playing like Fortnite or something together.
Hmm.
And this dude showed up at the lady house, and she was like, "Would you get your ass out of here?" And he was like, I came to see your daughter or whatever."
Hmm.
I'm like stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like stuff like that we gotta deal with because you don't know people's mental state. And then, if you're dealing with kids, kids give certain things, certain information away that they necessarily shouldn't give. You know what I mean? Like
All the time. All the
they
time.
talk.
Yeah.
So that could definitely, cause an issue and a challenge, when trying to get these guys, because one, you have to be aware as a parent to know that this is going on.
Hmm.
And then how do you monitor, that type of stuff? Like if they're playing the game, I don't know, they done said some stuff on the game, when I've been playing, but then nobody came at me sexual because I don't know. I don't know necessarily why, but I'm not saying that I want them to, but it's more of like, if I score a touchdown on them, they call me, an N word or something. If they hey, hey, it didn't happen, man. Hey, get off of here. It didn't happen. And then it said some egregious things online, bro, playing.
Right, I'm
You
sure.
know, but
Yeah.
now you gotta deal with, a potential predator on the other side of those controllers or,
Mhm.
headset.
Yeah, for sure. I think if you take the time and kind of live in your child's world for a little bit, you can kind of see, how they interact and what they're interacting with. And then you can kind of coach them as they go along and grow older on some things that they need to be looking out that's inappropriate or has nothing to do with playing the game. So these are the things that we want to steer away from, or these types of players using this language, asking you to do things outside the game, saying don't tell your mom or you tell your dad. And those are the things that they most of the time don't think about because they're just having a good time. They're trying to make friends. They want to look cool or be cool. They want to be adults on some levels because they're playing a game in their own world. So, you just have to kind of monitor those things. Like I said, play the game with your child, see what they like to play for a little bit, and have a conversation. And after that, get off and set that foundation, and hopefully they carry that forward to where they can remain safe, while they're having a good time, playing a game.
Right. Man, I was trying to find that video, but it was crazy. Um, but yeah, I agree, man. And like you said, engaging with them, but also having those type of conversations where it's like, okay, if you hear this and that, let me know.
Mm.
You know what I
Hmm.
mean? And then I could act accordingly. I could,
Right.
yeah,
We can
absolutely.
report that player. We can block that player. But we know these days, they can just create a new account and
100%.
come right back and do the same thing. So also adding a layer for help finding those people, that are
Right.
using the platform inappropriately. That's another layer that, eventually they should tap into to kind of, keep people off these platforms and not have them be so predatory. While kids are playing Roblox and Fortnite and, whatever the popular games are. So,
Right.
but again, I mean, going back to the story, this is just the tip of the iceberg. There's so many more stories that we hear or don't hear or have seen or heard. And it's just kind of like, how is it happening? Where is it coming from? It
Right.
has to stem from someplace. So trafficking, we understand and know that it is a global business. I hope people are not naive to know that, it's not just kids and games, but it's, taking kids and moving them across country, using them as, the craziest things you want to think about.
Right.
You don't want to think about. So that's another thing. So if people are really serious about understanding that part, then they won't be so naive to understanding like this may or could happen, involving someone that you may know. So